All right, every once in a while I'll do a video which is just a lot of fun, and so I think this one is. So let's talk about 12 interesting, crazy facts about meat. Now, meat has kind of a crazy history. So the first one, corned beef doesn't have any corn in it, right? So why is it called corned beef? Well, back in the late 9th century and onward, people started using the word corn to describe any small grainy substance like sand, salt, or pepper. And so when in the 16th century, people began preserving their meat with salt, they had what they called corned beef. Interesting. Now, speaking of corned beef, the astronaut John Young on Gemini 3 smuggled corned beef into space, allowing him to sample beef in outer space. So bravo to John Young for doing that. Also, a fun fact, freeze-dried bacon was the very first food that was eaten on the moon. This reinforces the fact that meat is the optimal way to fuel astronauts, but that's not everything that bacon can do. There is a known hostage negotiation strategy called bringing home the bacon. And so when implementing this strategy, often negotiators will be outside cooking bacon so that the hostage taker will start smelling the bacon, become hungry, and then will become more willing to negotiate. So that's an actual strategy that's been listed. Now, here's another interesting fact about bacon. 43% of Canadians would choose bacon over sex. Now, I'm not sure if that says more about Canadian sex or Canadian bacon, but whatever it is, that is the results there. During World War II, making or eating sausage was actually banned in Germany. This is because the material that they used to make these giant zeppelins that they were using required cow intestines. So they would use something like 250,000 cow intestines to make the bag that held the hydrogen and gas, fueling these giant war balloons, these zeppelins. So that's a lot of intestines for sure. Another fact, your stomach and your intestines actually shrank as your brain grew after we ate meat as an ancient ancestral species. And so similar to other primates, humans used to have very long digestive tracts that took up a lot of energy digesting food and fibrous foods extremely slowly. However, once we figured out that we could scavenge meat and fat, and then eventually start hunting these things, our brains grew. And as a consequence, we ended up reducing the amount of digestive room we needed because we weren't using all that fiber to try to get energy from. Became much more efficient. Our guts got smaller, at least most of ours. We got some people with pretty big guts now. But I mean, if you compare our guts to that of another primate, we have much smaller space because we don't need all that fiber processing room that these animals do. Okay, way back on March 3rd of 1876, and we don't know why this happened, giant chunks of red meat began falling from the sky in Bath County, Kentucky. According to one resident, whose name is Mrs. Croach, who was out on her porch making some soap, she said there was large, gristly chunks of meat raining down that were about 2 by 2 or 2 by 4 or 4 by 4 inches big. It was thought to be beef, but those who tasted it claimed, I'm not sure if I'd be willing to taste it, but the people that actually tasted it claimed it tasted more like lamb or perhaps venison. Some people thought maybe it was could have been bear or human, perhaps even, who knows. Many thoughts and theories happen to why this occurred. Some people thought maybe vultures were flying around and dropping it from the sky. But up to this point, no one actually knows what actually occurred there. So that's an interesting little fact. Okay, number 9, back in the 1700s, there was a huge overpopulation of lobsters along America's eastern shoreline. And so they used to wash ashore in Maine, stacking them as tall as 2 feet high in lobsters. They were known as the poor man's chicken, and they were used predominantly as either food for prisoners or fertilizer. Lobster only became fancy and expensive after American rail cars started serving them to passengers, making the crustaceans look fancy and enviable. Chefs began serving lobsters at high-end restaurants in New York and Boston, and from there its popularity and of course price took off. Fact number 10, pepperoni is actually an American food. In Italy, pepperoni refers to bell peppers and not any of the cured meats. Okay. Fun fact number 11, Subway is one of the most popular deli chains around the globe with about 41,600 stores worldwide, but you should know one important fact about the meat on their menu. Their tuna salad is said to have no trace of actual tuna. Is this claim true? It's in the court system right now to find out about that, so I would proceed with caution. I probably wouldn't go to Subway anyway, to be honest. Fun fact 12, chickens are actually a close ancestor relative to Tyrannosaurus rex. This is one of the reasons why chickens are pretty ferocious when you look at them. So interesting. This is some interesting, just weird known facts about meat. Let me know if you've got some other ones in there that might be fun to share in the comments. We'll talk to you soon.